Robert Spano brings to us every qualification we were looking for. As a conductor, he has been Musical America's Conductor of the Year. He's conducted every major American orchestra and orchestras all around the world, always to acclaim. In his role as music director of several great orchestras, he's had a transformative and positive effect on those organizations. Robert is a brilliant performer, and tomorrow we'll be playing a Schumann Piano Quartet. Yes, not quintet, in Atlanta. That also gives you a sense of how busy he is. Robert is one of the great teachers of our time. He has a full-time appointment at Oberlin College Conservatory, but I spoke with deans and presidents of conservatories all across America in researching this search, and over again, I heard the ideal candidate for you is Robert Spano. He cares about students. He is a galvanizing, electrifying teacher. I can also say that in 8 summers that he has spent with us in Aspen, we have seen firsthand the way students respond to him. We cared a lot about new music in this search, and I think there is truly no conductor in America who has done more for the new music culture of America than Robert Spano. I'm not going to say all of the names. His work with Osvaldo Gollyhoff, his work with John Adams, his work with the entire Atlanta School of Composers has brought new music into a relation with its audience which is unique and important for our time. Robert is someone who has cared throughout his career for the future of concert music, for innovations that will guarantee that future and make that future exciting. Robert is a person of the most profound intellectual curiosity, and here again, when I spoke with leading musicians around the world about him in the search, over and over again people said, he is the most brilliant thinker about music we have ever met. I think that's particularly important for us in Aspen because a profound intellectual curiosity and a curiosity about how and why music is part of the greater social fabric is something that we care about in Aspen, and there will be no stronger exponent for that than Robert Spano. I'm going to tell you just a few quick anecdotes, though, towards the end of the search process that gave me a personal sense of what working with Robert was going to be like. First of all, we were talking about his conducting obligations as music director. And before I could say anything, he said, I must work with the all-student orchestras. I must see all of the students. I must have a chance to work with all of them. I must conduct opera. And that is very exciting to us. I mentioned to him in one of our planning meetings that he would not need to come to Aspen during the winter because our practice has been that Asador and I and Joni and others travel to meet the music director for that person's convenience. And immediately he said, no, of course I will be coming to Aspen because I want to know the whole staff. I want to sit down with the whole staff in planning. And that just gave me really a thrill of positive feeling for his work. But more than any of all these qualifications, what I want to say about Robert is that he has a shining, shining love for music, for musicians, and for music making. And by music making, I mean that unification of the experience of composer, performer, and listener, a talent for communicating, a talent for sympathizing, for empathizing, a talent for encouraging everybody in that triad, composer, performer, listener. And that is going to be the key to a brilliant, brilliant success in his work in Aspen. I am very, very proud to be standing next to him. So, not to put you on the spot, but do you have a few comments for us?
I think for all of that, I should have still been out of the room, but it's very flattering. It's very kind, and I'm very excited to be here. I guess the question I get most often, because certain press people have been alerted, and I was doing some interviews on the phone. Dan Waken, who did that big article last year in the Times, was one of the people who interviewed me the other day, and he said, well, what is your grand vision for Aspen? And I said, well, I don't have one. And I think it's important that I don't, and that we forge it together, because in fact there is a vision which is Aspen, And this morning I was realizing, the other question I get is, well, why did you want to come to Aspen? What attracts you? What makes you want to be there? And I think I was reminded of a lovely title of a book that was an interfaith dialogue between a priest and it's not a joke, a priest and a Zen monk. And the title captured my imagination this morning because it was The Ground We Share. And I feel like we share a lot of ground. I love what you do. As I've learned to say in the South, I'm eating what you're cooking. There was a cartoon, it's probably 20 years ago by now, in the New Yorker, that pictured a tumbleweed in a vast sort of barren wasteland and a crushed beer can, and the caption was "Life Without Mozart." And I think it's clear that you are here because of your commitment to music as an art form, as an integral, important part of our society and our culture. And I feel that just as passionately as you do. And it's funny how beauty is a word whose definition seems to elude us, but its gifts are vital nourishment. And without that in our world, we'd all be so much the poorer. And I know you know this. And that's always been clear to me about Aspen, which is why it's always been an inspiration to be here and to work here and to experience the spirit of the place which you continue to generate. That even though it might be difficult and scary, because change has that quality, change is inevitable. And if we embrace it, the possibilities of coming out of it with something more powerful, more connected to the world in which we live, is a real possibility. And I think Aspen is poised to be at the center of that exploration in our larger world, because it's here that these young musicians come, are inspired, rethink, imagine, explore, learn from each other. We learn from them, the old people. And we take back into the world that spirit and that possibility. And that's, I think, the kernel of what had me so excited about the possibility. I've adopted a sort of pessimistic attitude in general, because that way I get nice surprises. So when Alan called me, I was just thrilled, because I didn't know if you would be talking to me. And I certainly hoped that you would, because I felt so passionately about the place and so excited about the possibility of what's possible and what we could achieve together. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm a little overwhelmed and very excited. And one of the best aspects of that for me is the fortuitous circumstances that I can spend the summer here, this summer. There were a number of complications in my own calendar where my schedule was freed up, and I will only miss 1 week of the festival this summer, which really gives me an opportunity to absorb, to learn, to talk, to listen, to pay attention to all that's happening with all the players involved, and I'm very excited about that opportunity. And I think we have an opportunity to do something extraordinary and fundamental in the world of music, the larger world of music. This is the right place to do it. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I'm thrilled to be a part of this great institution.
Please join me in a toast to our new music director, Robert Spano.